Hello everyone and welcome to our lesson which continues to focus on poetry. This lesson is about Pigeons by Richard Kell. Now last time we had one of our poetry lessons we were looking at frogs, and we looked at one of the phrases was the frog is a skydiver in mid-air. So what I want you to do is to just think, and you can write these out and circle them, think which is the best ground from the bullet points options below. So remember we've been looking at the tenor and the vehicle, but the ground is what the tenor and the vehicle have in common. So is it that both have parachutes, both are exciting, both look dramatic, both live in the forest, and both are green? Okay, so the things that they've got in common, the tenor and the vehicle, the frog and the skydiver in this, are that both are exciting and both look dramatic. So frogs don't normally have parachutes, skydivers are not normally associated with living in a forest, and skydivers are not normally associated with being green. But both of them are dramatic and both of them are quite exciting things. Okay, so in this lesson, we're going to be analysing the features of a poem, and you're going to be doing some writing in response to a poem about pigeons. So we've looked already at the concept of tenor and vehicles, and we can see that in a poem we often have lots of different vehicles. So for example, Life Without Dreams was compared to a broken winged bird and a barren field. In the poem Sally, she was compared to dog rose, petals and feathers. So they were all the vehicles that were in the poem Sally. Frogs, that's the tenor, were compared to parachutists, Italian tenors and ballet dancers. So in our poems we've seen lots and lots of examples of vehicles to describe the tenor, which is the thing or the person or the object that's being described. So for example in the poem Sally, Sally is the tenor and the vehicle is dog rose, petals, feathers, etc. So today we're going to focus on a poem all about pigeons, a type of bird, and you can see a picture of a pigeon there. So what I want you to do now is just have a think, and you can pause this. What kind of words would you use to describe a pigeon? Okay, I'm sure you've got some great ideas there. So if a poem was going to write, or a poet was going to write a poem about a pigeon, they might want to focus on the movement of pigeons' feet. They might want to focus on the sound that pigeons' feet make when walking. They might want to focus on the way that pigeons walk. They might want to focus on the funny waggle of the head that a pigeon has when they walk. They might want to think about how a pigeon looks, the way that maybe light settles on their feathers, the sound of pigeons cooing, and the way that pigeons fly in the air. So there's lots of things that a poet might want to focus on if they're describing pigeons. So what I want you to do now is have a look at these 5 different words which we're going to come across in our poem. So there is staccato, elusive, swallowtail, limpid, and fathoms. Now the correct definitions are on the right hand side, but they've all been jumbled up. So I want you to see if you can know what is the correct definition of those words. So just pause it and see if you can get the right definitions, and then we'll go through the answers. Okay, well done. So here are the correct answers. So staccato, which is often associated if you've played the piano, for example, you probably know about staccato. It's a series of short, sharp, separate sounds. Short, sharp, separate sounds. So in the piano, if you play the piano, a staccato note, you just play it very, very briefly. It's very, very short, sharp. It's kept very separate, so it doesn't flow into the next note. The word elusive means difficult to achieve or get hold of. So for example, if you haven't seen someone for a while, you might say they're very elusive. They're hard to get track of. So that's what we mean by elusive. If something's flying away, for example. So you can see that a pigeon might be described as elusive because you might think, oh, it's quite hard to catch a pigeon. A swallowtail is a style of jacket that has long splits at the back, and you can see there a visual image of that. Limpid means that you can see through something, that it's clear. And then fathoms is a distance used to measure the depth of water. So that's those keywords: staccato, elusive, swallowtail, limpid, and fathoms. Okay, so I'm just going to read to you now the poem Pigeons by Richard Kell. They paddle with staccato feet in powder pools of sunlight. Small blue busybodies strutting like fat gentlemen, with hands clasped under their swallowtail coats, and as they stump about, their heads like tiny hammers tap at imaginary nails in non-existent walls. Elusive ghosts of sunshine slither down the green gloss of their necks an instant and are gone. Summer hands drugged from sky to earth in limpid fathoms of silence. Only warm dark dimples of sound slide like slow bubbles from the contented throats. Raise a casual hand. With one quick gust, they fountain into air. So that's a lovely poem about pigeons, and you get a real sense of how pigeons move and what they look like from that lovely, lovely poem by Richard Kell. So what you're going to do now is you're going to write out the vehicle used to describe each tenor in the poem. So I want you to think about the tenor. So the tenor, there's lots of different aspects of the pigeon to think about here, and I want you to think about what tenor is being used to describe that. So as an example, you've first off got the tenor, which is the movement of pigeons' feet, and the vehicle is the paddle. So you want to think about the ground. The ground is, what do the tenor and the vehicle have in common? So if you think about it, slow, awkward movements, and pigeons don't move quickly. So what I want you to do now is look at that poem, and I want you to think about what is the vehicle that describes the tenor, the sound pigeons' feet make when walking. So think about what is the vehicle for that, and then what is the ground for that one. And then similarly, for the way that pigeons walk, what is the vehicle for that one, and then what is the ground. So you're going to start off by doing that, and then we're going to go through the answers in just a moment. Okay then, so to go through those answers, for the second one, the vehicle that describes the sound that pigeons' feet make when walking is staccato feet. So that implies the reason why that's used as a ground is their steps are quite light. It captures how their feet gently patter on the ground. Even though they are awkward, they are still quite delicate in how they move. And then the third one, the way pigeons walk is described as being strutting like a fat gentleman. So that shows that they walk with pride, with their chests puffed out. Gentlemen tend to wear formal suits which reflect the colour of a pigeon's feathers. So the next challenge for you to do is to have a look at these tenors: the movement of pigeons' heads, the way light looks on their feathers, the sound of pigeons cooing, and the way pigeons fly into the air. So try and identify what the vehicles are. So what are those things being described to? And then what is the ground for each of these ones? So pause this and just have a little go of that whilst you're looking at the poem. So these are the answers. The movement of pigeons' heads are described as heads like tiny hammers, and the movement of the pigeon's head is mirrored by the quick movement of a hammer. So, and a tiny hammer suggests they are very, very busy, but not necessarily productive. So they might go around doing lots of stuff, but they'd actually achieve much. The way light looks on their feathers is described as being elusive ghosts of sunshine. So that the ground for that is the light on their feathers moves quickly. It disappears and reappears without warning, a little bit like a ghost. It's suddenly there and then it's gone, a little bit mysterious. The sound of pigeons cooing is described as warm dimples of sound and slide like slow bubbles. So that suggests that the cooing, the noise that the pigeons make, is very gradual and gentle, and that they both sound comforting. And finally, the way pigeons fly into the air is described as they fountain into the air. So that suggests they fly into the air in a majestic and sometimes quite unpredictable way. So what I want you to do is to write a paragraph to answer the question, how does Kell describe pigeons? So you're going to choose one of his metaphors, and you're going to use the ground column of the table that we've looked at to explain what it tells you about how pigeons move, sound or behave, and then you're going to hand that into me via assignments. So this is an example paragraph to help you out. I'll just read it to you. The poet presents the pigeons as moving awkwardly when they are not flying. Kell describes how they paddle with staccato feet. The metaphor suggests that they waddle on the ground quite inelegantly. In particular, the word paddle implies that walking is quite hard work for the birds, so that they are quite slow. However, the word staccato suggests that the steps are also quite light, which captures how their feet gently patter on the ground. Even though they are awkward, they are still quite delicate. So make sure when you've written your example paragraph that you check it using these different things, and then you've done your work on pigeons. Well done. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.